It's such a cool cinema with alternative and independent films playing. I wish I actually lived in Melbourne to come see some of these. So my name, I'm in Adelaide. My name is Bill Mousoulis, for those of you who don't know me, and together with Chris Luscri, who can't be here tonight because he tested positive today. With Chris, we run these screenings under the banner of Unknown Pleasures, Australian independent cinema. And it's good to be back. The last time we did one was 11 months ago, almost a year ago. So there she is, to the right, Anna Kannava. We're doing a spotlight on her. 11 years ago, she passed away at the age of 51, way before her time. And this film was made actually 8 years before she passed away, and she made one more feature after this. She was really a unique filmmaker because of certain passion that she had, and she was really one of a kind. And luckily, she had, despite her poor health, she had a lot of people through Australia who helped her out, film producers and other people. And the producer of this film, Dreams for Life, Aanya Whitehead, she's in Sydney and she couldn't make it tonight. She was going to be part of the Q&A later. She's got a family emergency to deal with. So we can still watch this wonderful film. We will have a Q&A discussion at the end where Simon Wilmot from Deakin Uni, who is a lecturer, I'm not sure of his official title there, he actually knew Anna, and she went to Deakin when it was called Rusden in the 80s, and they actually worked together on a few films. And so Simon will be moderating the Q&A, and we have with us Maria Mercedes, who's on the left here, so the lead actress of the film. And Maria has had a really full career doing TV work and stage musicals and things like that, and then she befriended Anna at some point. We'll hear about that, I guess. And they made this film together in a real kind of collaboration that went for a number of years before it got realised. We have the Kannava family, Anna's family, here tonight, her brothers, and one niece at least. I'm not sure if another one or another nephew. Is Apollo here or anyone?
No, Ruby.
Just Ruby, yeah. I'd like to just hand the microphone over to Anna's mother, Frederika Apokidou, who wants to say a few words. Frederika?
Okay, good evening, everybody. Firstly, I'd like to thank you very much for being here with us tonight. A special thank you, of course, to Bill Mousoulis, Maria Mercedes, Simon Wilmot, Chris Luscri, for working so hard and putting so much effort for us to be here tonight. I believe there's a couple of close friends of our Anna here. Welcome. Also, what else? Thank you for coming. And I wish to read a statement for us tonight, that's all, that Anna wrote about the film we'll be watching tonight. And she said that, "I love the films which leave an aftertaste with me, when the emotions I felt while watching the film linger inside me for days after." This is one of the main reasons I am so excited about Dreams for Life. I believe it has the potential to affect one emotionally, even subconsciously, and stay with me for a while. I hope Dreams for Life leave an what did she call it?
Aftertaste.
Aftertaste to you all tonight for a while. Thank you.
Today I wake up with the possibilities of future. We are young once more. We are flirting. And I remind him how years ago we kissed in the last row of the old cinema. And then he broke my heart. Now he's humble. And it suits him, this new face of his. He says he can't remember me. He broke so many girls' hearts. That I meant nothing to him saddens me. But it excites me too. Knowing all that we now know. And yet still being so very young. We can start afresh. We have our lives before us. We'll make no mistakes this time. Me and this stranger in my dream.
Like I said, we were meant to have the producer Aanya Whitehead here, and she's not able to make it from Sydney. We might actually be attempting to ring her, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll give it a go, and we've certainly got a few words from her that we can, speak out. So, I'll hand it over to you, Simon.
Thanks, Bill. I'd like to begin by acknowledging we're on the unceded sovereign lands of the Wurundjeri people, and I'd like to acknowledge their elders past, present and emerging, and if there's any First Peoples in the house, I'd like to acknowledge them. I'd also like to acknowledge Anna's family here. It's fantastic that this event is happening and Anna's legacy and memory can be lived on. And thank you to Bill and his crew for organising this as well. Many of us here tonight have had a significant experience with Anna in our lives and have special memories of her. And today there were some emails going around that were sharing her continuous presence with many of us. And she sort of lives on as a good, friendly, kind ghost in many of us. In both our hearts, our consciousness and our unconsciousness, it seems. Certainly the amount of love she gave to people is something that people really remember and cherish. And she was an extraordinary centre of the world, and particularly for those people from her Rusden connection, she was a real keeper of that group together and a point of connection. And that's certainly how I got to meet her, working. I was recommended by one of her Rusden colleagues to work on her film 10 years after, 10 years older. And Anna, for me, was an extraordinary teacher about film. She had no idea what she was doing, but bloody hell, she was good at it. And she was working it out. And it was just so interesting to share an editing room and discover film with her. And she was brilliantly brutal on me at times about the mistakes I made, but incredibly positive and nurturing and supportive when I got things right. It was just a wonderful experience. And for me, when I'm in the editing room, it's Anna's voice I have in my head guiding me and telling me what to do and how to do things. And if I'm looking for a solution, I wait for Anna to tell me what to do, and she always gets it right. And so the films she's left us with also need to be cherished, and it's great that we've got to see this film again. And I thought that just stood up extraordinarily well. And I thought Maria's performance was just outstanding.
Thank you.
Yeah. I've never met a filmmaker whose soul and experiences are so much the film. And the films she made were so contiguous with her life and experience. She got really cranky at me once for kind of asking her about that, the way the films tracked her life. But I think it might have been that she sort of was concerned and feeling vulnerable that her creative integrity was going to be more about creating other lives and other worlds. But just again, watching this film, to see how much of the texture and things in this film are about her life and her experience, and how she knits it all together to make one of the most unique visions of Melbourne. You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not a Melbourne I immediately recognise, but it's an incredible vision of Melbourne, and I think that combination of the Greek world and the Anglo-Australian world is something that she was really uniquely able to pull together.
And having been a migrant herself, you know, how old was Anna when she came to Australia, Frederika?
15.
She was 15. So she really understood the complexes of having heart in two places, I guess, and also carrying the burden of parental, adjustment and expectation. And as you know, first generation of migrants, you do carry that burden and you do carry that grief, and I think she kind of translated that really beautifully, particularly when Alan's walking away at the end. Those words were really the thoughts and sentiments of so many people of my generation anyway, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's, you know, there's so many ideas in this film which are there in that very first film she made at Rusden, Kannava, You Can Have Her, you know, and there's so many themes that are in this film which begin and first arise. There's even images, like the image of the woman standing at the window from behind is one that is throughout her films. You know, there's a feeling in that, obviously, that emerged for her as a young adolescent girl that she continued to play with throughout her time, and it's in all her films. I didn't get to see the Rusden films, Kannava, You Can Have Her, and Tightrope Walker and Wedding of Venus, and we have her collaborator on those films with us tonight, Annie Duncan, who was a big part of Anna's discovery of films as well, an emergent filmmaker. So well done to you, Annie, for being part of that journey. So I saw them when I first started working at Rusden in 1990, and it was just before I started working for her on Vanilla Essence. And I was just really knocked out when I saw those films about how consistent they were with 10 years after, or how they fed into 10 years after, 10 years older, and how, I didn't know that at that time. The 10 Years After film is a beautiful film. It's really an extraordinary little doco, made under very tight circumstances, but just full of her craft and her art and her insight and her emotion. She just had such a knack of exploring the world, exploring herself and the world as it was unfolding to her, and that was a really rare talent. I just don't know I've never met anybody who's so able to do that. But it came so easy to her that I don't think she understood it as exceptional. You know, it just was what Anna was experiencing doing.
Well, she was very stubborn with her her attitude of how she saw things and how she wanted things, and I think that plays out so beautifully. That was her anchor, really.
As Vanilla Essence was a short film that was funded by the AFC to give her a chance to test herself in making a short film ahead of making a feature. And as it turns out, Dreams of Life is the feature, but it wasn't the one she expected to make. She was working on and planning something else at the time of Vanilla Essence as her first feature. But along came Scleroderma, of course, and it just disrupted where she thought she was going. But it's quite disconcerting how Vanilla Essence, I think, foretells of what happens to her. On Vanilla Essence, she wasn't sick. I don't know if she was experiencing any of the symptoms that she got later. And so it was but it seemed to me to be a film about what happened to her after 10 years older, the kind of isolation she felt, and the struggle she had to try and get the next step. And it was kind of about her trying to get out into the world to get that that next thing made, that next film. But we did some of the ideas in Vanilla Essence, like being trapped, is there in anyone can have her. Sorry, Kannava, anyone can have it as well. So from the word go, that theme of being trapped, which I think is the part of the migrant experience she had.
Absolutely.
And it's there again in the Butler too. The sense of being isolated and trapped, but also the idea of, then that incredible sense of release that is in 10 years after, 10 years older, when she goes back into her childhood. I was always struck by that. There's a sense of escape even, in returning back to Cyprus and rediscovering her childhood. And that then, which is very much part of that idea of being trapped, I think. What Vanilla Essence foretells is that she's going to be trapped again by this disease. That just always struck me as being incredible about that film. Although this sense that the character, which again you can't say it's not her, goes out into the world. It becomes a fantasy. In what happens later. And again, what's also strong in all her films up until that time is the idea of imagination, and using imagination as an escape and a place of possibilities and richness. And that's what she deals with again in The Butler as well. That incredible world of her and Nino and George building these worlds. And it's there in that first film. And so why The Butler is about the world she was having to deal with and how she's dealing with. What always struck me about this film was that it's about loss. It's about what she's losing. And, I just find it so powerful and poignant.
Well, that's right. What we think we're losing is never really the subject matter. I mean, she delved very deeply. And it's about ourselves, really, at the end. The fear of losing ourselves, and we kind of project it onto other things, but at the end of the day it is wholly and solely.
So how did you get involved in it, and did you see yourself getting involved in the Anna Kannava project?
Well, to cut a long story short, I had done a film called Head On, and Anna and Aanya Whitehead had seen the film, and they were at that time looking for an actress to play Ellen. And they organised a meeting in St Kilda at a cafe. And back in the mid-90s, well actually late 90s, we didn't have mobile phones, and I was driving an old 67 Fairlane, and and it broke down in Port Melbourne. And I thought, shit, they're waiting for me. How am I going to get there? And there were no Ubers, obviously, and I didn't have a mobile phone, and I couldn't get a cab. So I walked for about an hour or so, thinking they wouldn't be there, but I'd still go to the cafe, and there they were, still waiting for me, which was really crazy. And so, we just talked about this project that she had. She was very honest. She said, we don't have the money yet. And that wasn't a problem for me because, the trials and tribulations of being an actor, artist, whatever, there's never any money. And it started off as a project for me, but it was really a beautiful relationship that I had with Anna. It took, I think, about 5 to 6 years before it got made, from the time I was cast in it. And I kept joking. I said, Anna, when are we doing this? I'm going to be old enough to play Ellen's mother. But, Aanya Whitehead persevered. Anna kept calling her crazy. You're a crazy producer for wanting to, invest in time and money in this project. There were times when we thought it wouldn't get made, but when they got the green light, unlike other projects that I've done, I was very, very heavily invested in this. A, because it spoke to me very deeply about my own life and my own tribulations and and I worked very deeply with Anna for 5-6 years. Every week I would go to her home and we would read the script and change it. And that letter that I write at the end to Stephen, it's basically what I wrote. She just said, just write a letter and see what happens. And so, yeah, it was in my DNA. This film meant the world to me, and even if I didn't get paid a cent for it, it was a love affair. It was a love letter to everyone in my life, my own life, her life. You know, it's sort of semi-biographical. Eleanor, her life, my life, and many other lives. And so by the time we began shooting, it wasn't an effort. It was, you know, we were there. It was real, so to speak. Learning the script was like second nature. The words just flowed from me. It was the most authentic and genuine experience I've ever had, and I thanked her many, many times because it was a gift for me to not only carry a film, but to have that amount of truth in a film for me. And so I thank her to this day, and actually I dreamt about her this morning. It's really funny. The film was going to be shown at a little recital centre, and there was a piano protected by perspex or something, and I said, Anna, I can't see the film properly. We've got to go closer to the screen. So I carried her there, and we sat there watching, and she was sipping a cup of tea. And being Anna was so stubborn a lot of the times. She said, I've had enough of being here, I want to go back. I said, but Anna, I can't see it. She said, okay, we'll wait for intermission, then we'll go back. But there's no intermission, obviously. So it was the most unique, loving experience. And just to watch it tonight, I'm really, really emotional, to be honest. Yeah.
You must be the beautiful Ellen.
Who are you?
Martin. I'm Martin.
Baby Martin.
Well, I've grown up a bit.
How did you recognise me?
I've got your photograph on my wall. It came with the bungalow when I inherited it from my brother, so I kept it.
That's amazing. Of course, what, you're 22 now?
24, nearly. Do you still dance?
You weren't even 2 when we moved out.
I saw you once when I was older. But
Well, it's great seeing you.
you were visiting my mum. Do you live nearby?
Any questions or observations?
Just on what you were saying there about, acting it came so naturally to you because you'd worked on it so long with her. I'm still kind of curious how you responded to the style of acting and the style of the film, because I think for an audience that doesn't know certain kind of art cinema, they might think it's a little stilted or a little too stylized, but
Or underplayed.
yeah. But the thing is, when you watch it, you understand that the actors are really within the characters, and films don't have to be natural like all the time with natural flowing movements and all that. Like there's such a solidity to the portrayals that it's quite amazing. Did you find that unusual, that style itself, when it was being filmed?
Anna was very specific of the style of acting that she wanted for this film. I mean, watching it tonight, it's almost like a painting coming to life, because Anna was very artistic with, I have a scrapbook of, you could call it storyboarding, where she would choose certain wallpapers and she would collect leaves, almost like what Alan did in the film. So it was a painting coming to life. But one thing that she specifically said over and over again, I don't want any TV acting, right? I don't want television acting. And you know, when we did start rehearsing, obviously, because I'm a trained actor, the technique was showing, and she didn't want to see technique. She wanted to see reality. She wanted to see a living, breathing person. So yeah, I had to adjust, you know, because as performers we think, I've got to feel like I'm working here. But it was quite the opposite with what Anna wanted. Anna wanted, you know, as if the audience were flies on the wall, you know, and she wanted that realism. Yeah. So yeah, it was very different coming from, you know, theatre and musical theatre and my background. So yeah, I think it's the most genuine performance I've ever kind of embraced.
Cool.
Mm.
You trusted her, and you trusted her, so you gave her truth.
I did. I trusted her because, yeah, she was so specific and honest about what she wanted, and also because the story reflected a lot of her life and my life, you know, with my own personal experiences, which I won't go into. There was a mutual trust, and you know, every week, I swear to God, we'd get together and just explore. So, yeah. And there was a lot of trust both ways.
That was certainly one of Anna's skills, was her openness and honesty to build a really trusting relationship. So
Yeah.
you could just completely you know, she created a safe place for you to try and test things out and think about, although she could be hilariously
Funny.
and chastising.
Yeah.
You know, one looked forward to those moments, even, you know, test her out to see what she would say. But it was that honesty and openness that just allowed you to kind of enter that world and be really trusting.
Yeah, it was very magical. And every morning while we were shooting, I would just wake up with such... I felt like a child, really. I felt like a child going into this playground. I loved every second of that shoot with Anna. I mean, she was a hard taskmaster as well, because as any artist is, they are so invested in what they want to give out and give back to the world. It's their child, they're giving birth to it. And it's interesting because Anna never had children and neither did I. So this was a child that was going to be born, and we needed to protect it and bring it into the world as beautifully and as honest as we could.
What scene or scenes were the hardest for you to do?
I think that scene when Martin is instigating, you know, the sexual relationship, to get into a space of a woman who had been broken and damaged physically, emotionally, and to portray that bare bones per se. I think that was the scene that really, I was challenged before I even filmed it, because you can always tell when people are faking it, you know, and I wanted that to be really real. When she's talking about what was broken, you know, her arm, her leg, her womb, a broken womb, that really, really hit home for me, reading that initially, and to utter those words. You know, you can't act that. You really, really have to put yourself in a place of, yeah, just living it. So yeah, I think that was the most challenging scene. That answers your question.
I just found just there's a lot of stillness and introversion in the film, and I was just wondering how you, as an actor, arrived at that place.
I think, you know, I could lie and say, you know, I really had to think about that stillness, but it just came so naturally because of the writing, because of the character, and because the direction as well, you know. Anna was orchestrating the whole thing. And, you know, we didn't have much of a budget. We didn't have the liberty of doing take after take after take. That scene, you know, of Martin taking me into the bedroom was a one take.
Pretty good.
So we rehearsed it once and then we filmed it, and that was it. So I guess there wasn't, you know, I think the danger of shooting things over and over and over again, you know, you lose that spontaneity, you lose that truthfulness. So there's a lot to be said for not having a lot of budget. Right. Helen, did you want to ask something?
Oh, well, it's mostly just an observation. I only having known you for the last 6 years, I feel like I know a whole other, it's because I've known you as an adult, you know, as a fully formed person, and it feels like I've seen your story of origin, you know, like a superhero, you know, the underneath bit. And I just think it's such an incredible dreamlike space that you're both in. It's like the director, you and Martin and all the other characters, you're just in the centre of this dream that just keeps going and going. And I can imagine the lives keeping on going after that because I know you.
Yeah, that's lovely.
It just feels just such an incredible part of you. I feel so moved to have seen it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Helen. Yeah, it's interesting to look back and reflect, watching it again. I haven't seen the film for like 15, 16 years, so yeah.
Do you want to try and ring Anya?
Yeah. Going to try and ring the producer, maybe.
Try and ring the producer. Whilst Maria's doing that, I can add a couple of things. I remember the film when it was made at the time. It got funding by the Australian Film Commission, and Maria may know more, Simon may know a bit about it, but it was basically funded as a low-budget feature film. I'm sorry, yeah, that's right. So, you know, at the time in 2003-04, features in Australia were being made, they were starting to be made for like the $3-4 million mark. And basically there were some filmmakers really trying to make things with less money, you know, and Rolf de Heer through Australia was known for this. But anyway, I think they got just around 500,000. So there's a few people in the crew there and who obviously worked on the film, but everyone obviously really chipped in, and it wasn't like a normal production where, you know, there's money going to waste and all that. And I remember maybe Maria, you can shed some light on this, but when it was completed and Anna started putting it into film festivals, it got shortlisted for the Cannes Film Festival, which is the major festival in the world. Do you remember much of that time, Maria?
I know the representative. I think Simon, you said he came to the.
He was at the first
opening
screening
at the Sun Cinema in Yarraville, and he really loved it.
Yeah.
And he probably took, I don't know how many films back to Cannes for consideration, and we lost out to the movie Somersault. Oh. Yeah.
By another female director. And the stupid thing is that the Melbourne Film Festival, just a couple of months later, did not play Dreams for Life as well. Which, so it could have had this other kind of journey, and Anna could have become, you know, like a bigger filmmaker, more known internationally as an art auteur filmmaker. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that.
There's a lot of politics involved, though, Bill, when it comes to that.
You think you can grab Anya?
It went straight to Message Bank, but I will maybe try her again.
Just any more questions?
I'm Anna's brother, and
You played the photographer in the film.
but also I did the stills at the time, and the one thing people don't know is that she was very ill at the time, like really ill. And the thing I remember mostly about the film is that she used to have to take a break from shooting during the day, so the whole crew were hanging around, while Anna had to go and lie down for an hour with a nurse. So that film virtually killed her. I remember at the time, being her brother, I was really worried. I was there every day during the shoot, and she was not very well at all. So
yeah, she took a while to recover, didn't she, from that?
Yeah.
That's right, because I mean, she had energy for about 4 or 5 hours work a day, and imagine doing a film shoot where they, everything. She couldn't get going till midday in normal life, and having to go through a film shoot which is usually 12 hours. That was beyond her capabilities, way beyond her capabilities. But she just got through on passion and love for film.
And love for this project too. In all honesty, we were very worried about Anna during the shoot, for her sake, basically. But that life force that was never dampened, regardless of what her physicality was enduring. She made sure that she finished that film.
Well, like you said, it took 6 years to go to production or so. So she wasn't going to let the side down then. But
no.
It was, it's a thing that's not known very well. So I thought I'd share it.
No, thank you for that. Yeah.
And of course, achieving Kissing Paris with Natalie is here was another order of extraordinary achievement. That story to be told. It just beggars belief.
That's her second and last feature, and she only had 20,000 to make that one. And she and Natalie, the actress, went to Paris, and they had to pay for their plane flights. And Anna bought a very small camera for a few $1,000s, and so for 20,000 she made her next feature, which is really amazing. Yeah, just a couple more questions.
Can we talk about Farouz, the cinematographer, as well? He did the most incredible Iranian cinematographer who fled his own country. I don't know how many years prior to doing Dreams for Life, and just some of the photography still impresses me so much. That moon that you see, how he captured that.
Oh, that wasn't painted in. Of course, I was assuming it was painted in.
No, this is a film. It wasn't digitally. It was, it was just extraordinary. And he waited for the right, time of night to shoot the moon. Just beautiful work, and I wish we could have got in touch with him. I have tried in the past. I don't know where Farouz is these days, but his work was just so beautiful.
He shot the Butler as well.
He did he?
Yes, the Butler.
Yeah, Nino the Butler is there. I have to say, Nino, Anna's brother, those meetings weekly that I'd have with Anna, they were day-long events and nights. And Nino would cook us the most beautiful lunches or dinners, look after us.
The butler and the chef.
Yes, he is.
Everything.
He was Anna's right-hand person. Yeah.
Just a couple more quick questions. Dirk.
Okay, my comment's really about, it seems this film sort of oozes with this amazing, powerful sense of time. And it becomes like this thing that the whole thing moves through. It feels very Melbourne and very suburban Melbourne, slowing down of time. And that, I think that's one of the powerful things in the film. And it's also, I think it's also, part of Anna's experience about living in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Time in the past. The memories, and it runs through Anna's films. Yes.
Yeah,
and she always spoke to me about that the slowness of the film. It was almost anti-Hollywood, if you like.
She was very.
Yes.
Then all those small gestures, just come to the front.
Frederika, you wanted to...
Yes, you mentioned Kiss in Paris before, and I remember talking with her for days, trying to convince her not to go, not to travel.
Typical Greek mum.
It takes about 24 hours or more to get to Paris from here. And she was so stubborn and knew what she wanted. She said, I'll go. If I don't make it, bad luck.
Yeah.
So she did go out. And there was a nurse accompanied her, was she?
No, that was for this film.
She was a nurse in Paris as well.
I think Natalie might have been the nurse. Where's Natalie? Oh, there she is, yeah. So the two of them made the film by themselves, and then they found actors in Paris, in France.
So they worried so much all the way about her. And she came back, and after a while, she was just virtually couldn't do much.
Just one more question, please. We have to wrap it up a bit. Anyone got anything?
I think. Sorry.
That's okay.
I think it's great watching films made by women because they bring a total different sensibility to cinema, and the textures at the end when she mops the floor, it's got closure. I clean an oven. It's a bloody awful job.
It is.
Next day sometimes. But the textures, wool, all that sort of stuff. The senses, more of the senses are involved when women make movies. I find. Yeah. And the senses of cinema. There's more of your personal senses actually, distributed to you from the screen.
Yeah. That's very true.
I think it's one of the best feminine films, and your co-relationship with her. I think it's one of the best.
It's really interesting. It's like at the time in Sydney, especially, there were women filmmakers making feminist films, and in the 80s and 90s, of course. And Anna bypasses feminism and goes sort of deeper into the human soul, and yet she's got some of the same qualities as those other female filmmakers to do with texture and detail and all that.
It's worth noting that the leadership on the film is entirely women. The cinematographer is the only male senior role.
Yeah.
And I mean, so for the time, it's quite unusual to get such a strong all-female crew and leadership on the project.
It was a lovely change, actually. Being in a male-dominated industry. Sorry to say, but it's true. I have to make mention of another lovely project that I did with Helen Yotis Patterson, the writer of the play Taxidi, which also had that infused feminine power and lyrical beauty about it. So, it's a beautiful counterbalance for me, having done Dreams for Life and then the stage play of Taxidi, of women's journeys as migrants. So, nice circle.
I made some student films with Anna. There was a lot of influence with the mayor, Darren. Which we studied at Rusden a lot.
And Anna just loved those meshes of the afternoon.
And there's still a lot of mayor, Darren in that film.
Yeah, thanks, Annie. We'll have to wrap it up because of time. So thank you very much to Maria and Simon.
Thank you all.
Thank you for the Kannava family. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Bill.
No worries, enjoy.
The other one.
Well, that's what she aimed at. She aimed for.